Hey everybody. Well, how's that for timing? I released a video last night answering a question that people have asked me hundreds of times, which is, as I'm making a Christian case against Donald Trump, how do I deal with the pro-life issue? So I poured my heart out into that video because I think it's important that people know where I'm coming from. So I talked about my entire history in the pro-life movement before I went into pastoral ministry, and I talked about how I had to balance that history with my strong opposition to Donald Trump. And I hope you watch it. I'm going to link to it at the end of this one. But then I woke up this morning to find out that Trump just released a video stating his definitive position on abortion. And I'll show a few clips from that statement in a minute. But once again, it turns out that I was right about Donald Trump. And it only took 12 hours or so for him to prove that I was right this time. The main point that I want to make today, after Trump's announcement, is that he's officially retreated from his anti-abortion position. Whether you think he's right to run away from the pro-life issue or wrong, here's how his statement today affects the arguments that I've been making against him. As of right now, after his statement, anyone who listens to these videos, my Christian case against Donald Trump, and then sort of reflexively types a comment that says anything like, oh, so you want to kill babies because you're against Trump, is ignoring Trump's own stated position now. I made my video last night for a particular audience. I made it for all the people who tell me that they really can't stand Donald Trump, but they vote for him anyway because of the pro-life issue. Like, I understand that, and that's what my video was all about last night. But based on Trump's statement today, this election is officially not about abortion. He's taken that issue off the table as far as he's concerned. So now, if you're one of the millions of people who say that you voted for Trump in the past because mostly you're pro-life, that issue is no longer relevant to this election. If you vote for Trump after today's statement, then that vote is not really about the babies. And honestly, I'd have to suspect that maybe it never was. One of the main points that I made in last night's video was that Donald Trump is trying to have it both ways. He wants pro-life voters to give him credit for what he's done in the past with his Supreme Court nominations. But now he wants them to ignore the fact that he's completely undermining their position. I said that Republicans on a national level realize that abortion is a losing issue for them, so they're retreating from it. And I said that Donald Trump is leading that retreat. I said that he's been using the phrase, you have to be able to get elected, to explain why he's running away from the pro-life movement. And then this morning, he said that again in his statement.
You must follow your heart of this issue, but remember, you must also win elections to restore our culture and, in fact, to save our country, which is currently, and very sadly, a nation in decline.
So yeah, he's clearly saying that he's retreating from the pro-life issue because he wants to get elected. It turns out I underestimated just how much he was going to retreat from the issue, though. I talked last night about how he's been tossing around a national abortion ban of 15 to 16 weeks. And I explained that that would legalize over 90% of the abortions that currently happen in America. I didn't think that Trump would retreat as completely as he did, though. In his statement today, he announced that he's going to leave the decision to the states. He's just not going to touch any sort of national abortion ban. And again, I'm not saying that he should or shouldn't push for a national abortion ban. What I'm saying is that he's officially trying to remove abortion as an issue in his reelection. So for all the people who tell me that you only vote for him because you're pro-life, he just freed you from the burden of holding your nose and voting for him. He says every state should be able to decide for themselves. And as I play the next clip, listen closely to the language that he uses. I said last night that Trump is in the process of returning to the pro-choice position that he always had before he ran for president. And that's exactly what these words sound like to me.
My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state. Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart or, in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote.
Donald Trump called himself pro-life when it was safe to do so. The safest and most predictable position for any Republican presidential candidate to take has always been, for the last 50 years, that they'll support Supreme Court justices who'll overturn Roe. It was safe because it appealed to their pro-life base, but most of the nation didn't think Roe would ever really be overturned, so they didn't feel threatened by it. But now that the dog has caught the bus and Roe has been overturned, Trump is running away from the bus as fast as he can. He's still taking credit for overturning Roe, hoping that pro-lifers will support him for what he did in the past. But he's telling everyone else, in effect, don't worry, I'm really pro-choice. I've always been pro-choice. I got rid of Roe, but I'm done with the pro-lifers. I mean, that's the message he's sending. The one card that you can still expect him to play, though, is he will focus on late-term abortions, and he's going to lie. He's going to continue to lie about how his opponents want to execute babies.
It must be remembered that the Democrats are the radical ones on this position because they support abortion up to and even beyond the ninth month. The concept of having an abortion in the later months and even execution after birth, and that's exactly what it is. The baby is born, the baby is executed after birth, is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that.
If you have to accuse your opponents of wanting to execute babies, you really have nothing but hatred, lies, and division to offer the American people. He's been lying about this for years, by the way. Instead of taking my word for it, I'm going to post a link below to a PolitiFact article that goes into some depth about that lie. And you can check out their sources on your own, and you can do your own research to see what I mean when I say that he's lying about this issue. But I first heard him say this in 2019 when I attended one of his rallies, actually, at the Target Center in Minneapolis. In my view, he took delight in describing a procedure that was horrific and that never happens, and it would be illegal everywhere. But the crowd ate it up, and I'm sure a lot of his supporters are going to eat this up too. I ended up getting escorted out of the Target Center by security that night, but that's this whole other story. I might tell that sometime. But here's what's going to happen next. My prediction is that the various pro-life groups around the nation are going to make strong statements of disagreement with Trump for the position that he just took. But then they're still going to support him, and he knows that. He knows that these groups have built their entire infrastructure around defeating Democrats over the issue of abortion. And they'll say that even though Trump is retreating, he's still better than Biden. I expect that from them. That's what political hacks do. But my message is to all the regular voters who know that Trump is unfit, but have voted for him anyway because of the pro-life issue. If you go along with this charade that he and the political pro-life establishment are trying to pull off, then they'll know that they have you forever. So thanks for listening.